Please stand for allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Catherine.
Before we start our meeting, I'd like to take a few moments to thank Bob Blagden. This will be his last meeting. His years and years of service to the town of Wiscasset. He's a wealth of knowledge. He is a true gentleman and a wonderful friend. And I would like to dedicate this meeting to him. And I have a couple of gifts for him. That's for you. Marla needs a thank you for putting up with your years and years of being away from home.
Thank you so much.
So we thank you very much.
You're going to be missed. But I agree with Catherine. It's been a pleasure working with you in the last couple of years. I've learned a lot. And I wish you all the best. Is there anyone else that would like to say anything?
I was going to say maybe we should wait once the agenda's over.
And I'm sorry for the long agenda for your last meeting.
No, I agree with everything they said. It's been a pleasure. We've worked together a number of times. I expect someday you'll be back here again. I really do.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will go on to the approval of the treasurer warrants. Payroll warrants for May 24th and May 31st.
I move that we approve the payroll warrants for May 24th, 2019 and May 31st, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Accounts payable warrants May 28th and June 4th.
I move that we approve the accounts payable warrants for May 28th, 2019 and June 4th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of minutes for May 21st, 2019. Are there any corrections, omissions, anything? Ben?
Yes, under 7, public comment, the second paragraph regarding peer reviews. I would like the following sentence added. Selectman Rhines questioned why the planning board would be involved.
What the plan board,
I questioned why the planning board would be involved.
Cool.
It states that there's some question whether or not he's going to have a site plan review, and I questioned that, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but we got an answer on that.
Years?
About whether or not there's a site plan review.
Okay.
He actually came into the office today, and we went through the whole, explained the whole process. As it happens, he does not have a recommendation from the waterfront committee. So I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't want to be scheduled. So it became very clear that without that, it cannot be approved. So he recognized that, so he should have started earlier.
I didn't realize that was going to be the outcome of it.
I didn't either. I thought it was all on the way. I didn't see that paperwork until today.
All right. Now,
Do you still want that statement?
yes, I do.
Okay. You still want the statement, I think. Any other corrections? All right, can I have a motion to accept as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. We have no special presentations or awards. We have one committee appointment, Phil DeVise for the Historic Preservation Commission.
I'll move we appoint Phil DeVise to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. We have no public hearings. The next section is the public comment. At each regular selectman meeting, there will be time devoted to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectmen regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Is there any public comment? Yes, ma'am. If you come to the podium and state your name, please.
Hello, I'm Rita Gordon. I'm a resident taxpayer. My daughter has a statement she would like to read to the select board. She is a citizen of Wiscasset and an incoming senior at the high school.
Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Pratt, and I'm here in support of keeping Scout Hall open. I'm a second-year senior Girl Scout, and I've been a part of Troop 1664 for 8 years now. The Scout Hall is very important to the other seniors and cadets along in our troop. The Scout Hall has been a place of great joy and many teachings for all of us. As a Scout, you have to earn badges to move up in your ranks. And in Scout Hall, I have obtained cooking, cleaning, first aid, CPR, archery, engineering, community service, and many other badges. As a Scout, I want the building to stay open because without it, we can't have meetings. And I have learned strength and integrity to help others, use resources wisely, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. And as a Girl Scout, it is not only my pleasure but my duty to serve my community. And Troop 1664 has spent many long nights cleaning, painting, and shoveling. I've made some of the closest friends in that Scout Hall, and we have held countless sleepovers where we have learned friendship and leadership, all things very valuable in life for us. And if you decide to close this building, you will not only lose my generation, but the younger generations to follow. We hold sleepovers for the younger Scouts to be able to get the chance to meet other Girl Scouts from around the state, including Nobleboro, Waldoboro, and other places close to home. Every year that we've held them, we've had a minimum of 100 girls turn out. And the building from Scout Hall, if you take that away, you will lose the young ladies like me who are dedicated and give back to the community. So I please ask that you consider not closing Scout Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Michelle Wagner. I'm also a resident here. I'm also speaking in regards to the Scout Hall. I've been a leader for 8 years now, and I've had a troop for 8 years. Their girls are going into 6th and 7th grade this year. And our girls I have a lot of girls that have unfortunate circumstances at home that would never really have gone to some of the places that we've taken them. They've been to Boston, they've slept overnight in the Museum of Science with like thousands of other Girl Scouts. They've gone to Acadia, they've gone, countless trips. We're planning a trip right now down to Florida. And I've had we've had a troop up to 20 girls, but right now we have 11 girls, and I've had these same 11 girls since, like I said, kindergarten, and they're finishing 5th and 6th grade right now. But our girls also, over the years, every year for the last 5 years, take part of their Girl Scout money, and they come up either here to the town hall or to the schools at Christmas time. They get tags, and they go out and shop and buy gifts for these people that have requested, for gifts and stuff. They also, every year, and we just did it a few weeks ago, they start at the Scout Hall, they go down through the waterfront and up and down the side roads and pick up all the trash. And they get 2 or 3 trash bags full of trash. And they've done this for 6 years now. They plant flowers out front of the Scout Hall. They've gone into some of the local nursing homes and stuff at Christmas time and cooked with them and sang carols, did different things. So we have, like I said, girls that wouldn't do a lot of what we've done or experienced a lot of what they've done. And they are very committed, and they don't want to see the Scout Hall close because they're a close-knit little group, and they love each other, and they love the experiences, and they keep thinking of new ideas and new things to do and ways to give back. They've given money to the Barbara Bush Foundation. They've given money to our local animal shelter. So they do a lot, and we'd like to see it continue. And I know that there was some controversy about downstairs being a mess. That was a Boy Scout troop that has left, and they're the ones that did it, and we picked it up. And it's always been downstairs was Boy Scouts, upstairs was Girl Scouts. I don't know, and I can't talk for Boy Scouts. I know I've seen troops come and go over the last few years. People start it, then they leave, and they leave stuff, and they don't pick it up. And I don't know who does what, because I'm not a part of the Boy Scouts. But I can say that we've had 4 groups upstairs that have been going for years, 4 different troops. And they've been there for a long time, and they do take care of upstairs. And they did come and take care of downstairs, the mess that was left. I don't know who left it. I know it was Boy Scouts. I don't know who the last troop was, so I can't say. But they did pick it up. And it would be a shame if these 4 kids didn't have that, because we do have a younger troop in there right now that are elementary school kids. And we have high school, and we have middle school. So there is, various ages right through, and it would be a shame if they lost that. And hopefully we can keep it going and get more parents to, join and become parents that will go and start troops. We do have a new one that just started last year. So it is an ongoing thing, at least for the Girl Scouts. So I hope you guys don't want to take it away.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Ray Soul, I'm the harbor master, and the reason here, I know it's not on the agenda, but it's just food for thought. We have 7 moorings at the old dump site. 4 are pretty good, 1 is huge, and 2 aren't worth probably the space they occupy. But I'm usually the first one that knows that somebody needs a mooring. And my thoughts are that if you sell them individually to people that need them, and I'm only helping them, but I think you would realize quite a bit more out of them, rather than to just bid the whole thing off. But, and it's just food for thought.
Okay.
Figure out what you want to do.
How many moorings did you say you
There's
have?
7. 5 are really, 4 of them are probably worth between $200 and $250 a piece. The huge one, I would guess, would be around $400, and the other 2 have to be worth right.
And you have people asking about them?
Always, every time, because I'm the one they notify or call when they need a spot for a mooring, and usually they say, how do I go about getting one? And if I was able to sell them to them, I could say, I got just what you need.
Okay. Should we put that on the next agenda for the board to discuss?
We discussed it the last meeting, didn't we?
That's putting it out to bid.
Yeah, we're talking about putting it out to bid, and that
And
wasn't.
as I say, it's just food for thought,
Yeah.
You need to think about it, and let the town manager know, he can let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ray.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you.
Are there anyone else? Okay, we will go on. Assessor's business, Ellery Lane, Assessor Abel. Ellery,
Good evening, Board.
good evening.
You have in front of you some abatements and a few supplementals. Essentially, much to my chagrin, found out much after the fact that a few years ago there was a company that was selling lots to individuals after they had already been privately foreclosed on. And essentially, it took a while to kind of flush out the details. Essentially, the people that bought the property had already looked into investing into it, making plans, and when there was a title research done, when they tried to use some of the lots for collateral, they put the brakes on, basically saying, look, you don't own this property because of this foreclosure. So once I started seeing actual documentation, it was something that was not come through the registry that we get for normal deeds. These 2 individuals that are listed on your sheet actually did have registered warranty deeds from the registry, and I assessed the property accordingly, and they do not own them. So it was somewhat of a mess. So what I have proceeded to do is essentially do what I possibly can to clean up the So I have recommended to the board I, of course, as an assessor agent, can only, recommend this year's abatement and the supplemental that accompanies it, because that's a capped year for assessor. Any more than that, as you know, I'm sure already, is that becomes a municipal officer's abatement based on errors. So when I wrote up these recommendations, essentially, I phrased them in that way so that I'm recommending, the first year's abatement and supplemental, and the other two are just simply the mathematics and the reason for you as a board to abate and supplement. So I mean, it's one of those things that doesn't happen very often. And I think I've only had it happen once in my career, where all of a sudden we find out that there's just an absolute mess. And I don't know all the details, but I am assuming that perhaps, the reason that warranty deeds were conveyed was because, as others have inferred, it was probably cash transactions. There probably wasn't title research done, and the deed was put through the registry. I mean, essentially anyone can write up a deed and put it in there and convey the property. So that's what you have in front of you tonight, is essentially my recommendation that we correct these assessments and, go forward and accurately assess the properties to the right people.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Yes, Bob?
Does this fix this so that there won't be an issue in the future?
As far as I know,
You're comfortable that
this
this
fixes things. I think it's one of these unfortunate things, and a lot of times towns don't get all the documentation just because you don't get every deed, you don't get every, a lot of times they're caught by the tax collectors and et cetera. But yeah, in my opinion, this will fix it. And, the unfortunate part is the people that, on that human side, they purchased this, they thought they was gonna invest in it, found out that they couldn't do anything with it. And one individual actually did put some money into the land to, put a house there, and ended up having to abandon that section that he had put the investment in, so.
Any other questions?
Yeah, excuse me. The supplementals for lot 37D for 3 years.
Yeah.
What about lot 37F?
37F was deleted. That was a 50-acre parcel that was assessed basically to Ron Don and error. It was an illegal assessment. It was split off by Natural Land Development when they did not own it. PNF Realty owns all that property. And so essentially the supplementals to Matthew are a 1.75 acre piece that he actually does own that we were not taxing. And the abatements that involve that particular lot were part of that foreclosure property that they didn't have rights to convey. So I mean, it's essentially, it's kind of convoluted, but I mean, what I gather is essentially there was a 1.75 acre lot that he does own that wasn't part of this foreclosure process in the background. And essentially, I think when he was conveyed this piece, he was they sweetened the deal, gave him a little more land, and essentially, it was something in the neighborhood of 5.1 acres, I think, and he does not own that. He owns the 1.75 acre piece that I'm recommending a supplemental for.
Well, does the supplemental 37D, does that encompass all these on the front page?
That is what you have to know. It's part of them are 37F and part of them are 37D. 37D is a separate lot that was split off from the mother lot originally.
Let me ask it differently. Is somebody paying a tax on 37F?
37F does not exist. It's part of 37A. 37F was created as a parcel to Ronald Donahue Jr. And the individual that sold it to him did not have the ownership to sell it. And so that was an illegal lot that does not exist. He might have written a deed for it, but it doesn't exist. He didn't have any right to convey it. So as soon as I realized that, I deleted it and recommended an abatement for that piece. But in the meantime, he had conveyed also to Mr. Harkins part of it. That is the 37D, the 5 acres.
But the mother company, as you said to me earlier today, is paying the taxes on this property.
On the big piece, yes.
On the big piece.
Yes, they are.
They're not behind on their taxes
No.
either.
They're not. This
It's
is
an
just-
issue whether, and you and I talked earlier about it.
Yeah.
It's an issue where somebody just decided to start selling off pieces of property that didn't belong to them. And of course, when he gets the deed, he sends out the tax bill.
Wait, what? Really? So I could just, like, if somebody could just go out and make up a deed off the internet and send it to him and he'll send a bill?
If it's
If you,
If it's a recorded deed,
I mean, I could write up a deed right now and convey my property and burn them to you whether or not you wanted it. And you could register it, and as long as you have the right verbiage and it's registered in there, you can convey property that way. Not everybody goes through an attorney and title search and, risk quit claim deeds and et cetera. But, I mean, I don't know all the malfeasance in the area. All I know is that he was conveying property after he'd already been foreclosed on. And I can't explain why someone would do that.
but we're cleaning up our mess.
Yes,
The other mess is a legal mess on
their private
on their
farm,
private
and
farm.
I don't know where it's gonna go from there.
And we don't have any liability for sending out a tax bill? Like, that didn't somehow affirm that this was a legal transaction?
No, no. When we find out that there's errors, we correct them and fix them to the best of our ability. We're not, because I send a tax bill out to somebody doesn't, assessors aren't legally liable for their assessments anyway by statute. So, I mean, that's, I wish I would have known about it 3 years ago. It would have never happened, but
But the people who were involved, they thought the property belonged to them.
yes, of course.
So when they got the tax bill, they figured that's my bill.
Right, I mean, I spend a lot of time with these individuals who are suffering from this investment, and they weren't very happy with me, they weren't very happy with the situation they're in, and I understand that. But I'm just simply just trying to correct, the things that went out.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the tax abatements of Matthew Harkins for $930.58 and for Ronald Donahue in the amounts of $771.04, $769.99, $1,096.76, $1,174.38, and $368.59 as recommended by Assessor Agent Ellery Bain.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, then we have the supplemental.
I'll move the supplementals as recommended.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Thank you very much, Ellery, for all your hard work. Okay, department head or committee chair. Code Enforcement Officer Bruce Mullins. Yes, Bruce?
Yes.
You want to stand up? Tell us the story.
Tell us the story. Well, I think John's got the letter that I sent to him. And he has a,
You've got to do that.
and I think everybody else has a copy.
Yeah, it's in our packet. Yeah.
And then the letter from, yes,
You want to read it? You want me to read it?
would you like me to read the letter?
I don't care.
This letter from Star Pinkham dated June 4, 19. We're more than willing to comply with the town ordinance. We have every intention of doing so, but we cannot within the time given because of Albert's medical issues. And they enclosed a statement from his doctor and phone number and such like, which Bruce and I have agreed is genuine, and since we don't need confidential medical information, we've already shredded it. Just in case it would escape. And a phone number if you need have any questions. So I'm asking for extended time to comply. I'm not able to be there for this meeting since she works at night. I was not able to find coverage for my shift. Albert is sick, I cannot make it. The code enforcement officer has my number if you need to get a hold of me. And from what they've described and what Bruce has done, I see no reason not to. No reason not to approve an extension because it is their intention when they can.
I said an objection to that.
What are they talking for an extension?
I don't know what their one is. What I would like to know from you folks is this situation with the Pinkhams out on the old Crescent Road has been going on for
years.
Many
a very long
years.
time. They've gone through all the legal stuff and it do not appear to want to comply. They continue to keep a junkyard, they continue to disobey the town ordinances. I would like you to recommend how I should proceed. Because obviously, taking them back, if you need to take them back to court, that's up to you guys. I don't know if you want to take them back to court because the court, they just got done with paying the court fines. They just got their property back from taxes, paid off their tax bill. And now they still have a junkyard, they're still not in compliance. I don't know what I should do about this. I can send them another letter.
Have you suggested asking them about getting a junkyard permit?
No, Madam Chair.
I'm just a thought on my
All
head.
right, I was on the board back in 2000.
Okay.
To be fair, they had a junkyard permit the year before, and they applied for another one. On advice of council, we turned it down because they were in violation of land use ordinances.
Okay.
And as you said, they took the issue to court, and the district court sided with the town.
Okay.
They appealed to Superior Court, and the Superior Court sided with the town. They took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court sided with the town of Wiscasset. That was 19 years ago, and they're asking for an extension. I think what we should do is instruct the manager to turn it over to the town attorney and do whatever is necessary at this point. I mean, there is a court order involving all this.
Yeah, I've got the whole folder here for day one. If you guys would like to take it aside and look at it, that's fine.
No, thank you. It was bad enough the first time around.
Well, I know, I kind of figured, but I got the information just in case. But
For all we know, it's still under a court order.
I don't know how to proceed with this. And the court order, they just got done paying off the fine for this. So. I
But they're
don't
still
know.
in violation.
They're still in violation, have been, for I don't know how long.
No, I don't think the courts would
I
do
have,
happy on that.
Was the court order, thinking back, I'm just asking a question, was the court order compelling them to clean up the yard? Is that what?
I believe it was, but it was 19 years ago, and, I mean, like I said.
So they're in violation of a court order, basically.
They have been fined for violating the court orders before. They've been, I don't know, they were both supposed to serve jail time for this. I don't know if they actually did. I don't know why the fine was what it is. I just know that this is only half of the paperwork involved with this case. And I don't see me spending more time
giving them extensions, giving them more letters saying you're not compliant. Please clean it up. So I said, I'm gonna let you guys decide how you want me to proceed.
Okay. Catherine?
Bruce, have you given them extensions, or is there a
I have
record?
not. I gave them a letter.
I was wondering if there were extensions in the past that, before you came, or any idea?
I think it's
I gave them until
since then.
May 17th to bring your property back into compliance. If on May 21st you were not compliant, I would ask the select board how to proceed. And, here I am.
Yeah, Bruce obviously is super familiar with this, as is Ben. I look at these, Bruce has done his homework, Bruce has put a lot of sweat equity into this, but the fact of the matter is, and we've seen it over and over again, you can't get blood out of a stone, and that's my dilemma. I don't necessarily want to start paying an attorney, go through a court process, and still end up with effectively nothing. And we've got obviously a sick spouse, and
A sick spouse and a piece of property full of junk automobiles, junk this, junk
Well, there's
that.
gotta be gas and oil and all this stuff leaking on that property. I mean, I go by it almost every day.
And I don't know why.
You can't even see the house
No,
from
you
vehicles.
can't, and from the rumor, if you had to go by rumors, they have let their children stay in their house. They put up another smaller house in behind the garage you can't see. That's the rumor. I don't know it for a fact. I don't own their property. So not only would you, if you evicted them, you would be evicting not only them, their family, and I don't know how many other people are on that property.
Well, I know that car on the trailer's been sitting there for at least 6 months. that I know
There's a
of.
car out on the road that they've been told to move a couple of times.
Yeah, that's been there for at least 6 months that I know of.
Mhm.
The one on the side.
And
of
they
the road.
plowed around it a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
So
Okay, what's the board's pleasure? What do you-
it's beyond me.
I'll put it in the form of a motion. We instruct the town manager to have the town attorney do whatever necessary to get that in compliance.
yeah, specifically to complain.
I mean, I really don't, it's not our place to act on it now. The courts have already ruled.
If the courts have been involved, then it has to go back to the court, definitely.
Yeah.
And
And the town spent a lot of money 19 years ago in legal fees to uphold this ordinance, and I think we've got to see it through.
We're investing over $100,000.
What?
Over $100,000 was the fine, the original fine.
and they paid,
Huh?
they paid it all.
They paid a portion of it. If they paid it all within 10 years and made payments and didn't fall behind, didn't miss, but they missed like 6 years and they caught up. And nobody at that point in time enforced that. So,
Okay,
it's
we
you
have
guys' turn to enforce.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to abstain. I am a judge license.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
They don't.
No one opposing, I just think that no matter what a lawyer comes up with, and I agree with the process, but the end result isn't going to do anybody any good, I don't think.
Well,
But
Is there another way to help, like, could we, I'm not saying that we help them clean it up, but is there any, like, I have no idea, how would you clean up a junkyard? Is there a place
Well,
where all that
DEP,
stuff
I
goes?
suppose, I don't know. I mean, it's a disaster, the pictures are awful. I mean, you just-
Well, I'm sure DEP's already been out there.
I have not sent them out there.
Something out there.
They have been out before. Don't get me wrong, they've got a file with DEP probably that they too. I, until somebody says send DEP, you do this, these steps in a row, I don't see me taking the time to do it unless you guys tell me exactly what you want done.
I can't see doing it the second time, because we went through all of that.
I know, and this is why I'm saying, Why should I get another folder this big and end up back in here going, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Let's do the now
And it's
what
my
now.
overall feeling, if we don't uphold this ordinance, then why uphold any?
Well, that's.
I mean, this really is a serious issue.
But I hate to spend money, especially when I hear something like $100,000 spent in the past, effectively to no avail. But then,
Well, the town didn't spend $100,000.
oh, I'm sorry, who did? Who's?
Those are the fines.
I think that was the fine.
How much
I've
did we
got
spend?
all the paperwork here, but I don't know where exactly it was, what the fine exactly was.
That was to the court.
Maybe DEP has some emergency type fund, and maybe there's an extended family if they are staring at reality. I think, you know, final effort with DEP and the family, and then as the board instructs me, then go to the attorney. But
If there's, I don't know, if there's a resource where they can get some counseling or something to help get that squared away, so that they stop this behavior. Because
I think
obviously,
we would get DEP involved.
so you think we should, or we should?
I think we should.
Is it, are they actually running a junkyard business, or is this just
I-
stuff that's
I
been
don't
sitting
know.
there forever? Because
You can't see in there.
I
The only
can't-
thing you see is when you go by, you see vehicles.
You see
You
cars.
can't see a house, you can't see
You
anything.
can't, and technically, I suppose if I wanted to, because there is a violation, I can go on the property and not be trespassing. But I really don't want to get shot.
I don't blame you.
No.
Well, some of the vehicles must have some scrap value. If they were being hauled away and being sold for scrap, I mean, a few $100 here, a few $100 there, and cleared up in the process. That might be a way of improving it before we start spending money on attorneys.
If you were to contact DEP, how long do you think it'd take them to get out here?
Last time I called DEP, they came out within a couple of days. It doesn't take them long. I contacted them on some other stuff. And they said, well, we'll be here a certain day, and they showed up. And both instances, I called them on, that mess was cleaned up.
I can go through those steps, report back to the board, make a preliminary contact with the attorney, give him as much of this paperwork as he wants.
Give the Pinkham the letter stating that I'd like to have DEP come by and assess the situation.
Why do we have to notify them? We don't need to notify them.
DEP can notify him, I would think.
I don't feel we need to notify them that we're gonna call DEP.
That's up to you. I just thought it'd be a matter of courtesy.
They'll know anyway, people are watching the show here.
I still think the appropriate way is to go right back to the courts. They made the decision, and it's up to the courts to see to it that it's enforced. I mean, we did everything right.
Yeah, we did. And I'd like to still do it, you know, but it's up to how you guys want to handle this.
I agree with you, Ben, but my first instinct is to get DEP involved and see what they can come up with. Then, if there's nothing they can do, they go to the court.
Well, they came down last time, and I don't remember that they did anything.
Well, at least, you know, that's just my thinking. I'm on your side. I'm just thinking that maybe we need to at least maybe check DEP first. And,
Can we start assessing fines? Like, I don't know what the court order said before, but should we just start like fining them?
they're not gonna pay it.
Well, then how would you resolve it? Like, you fine them, then they don't pay the fines, then you take the property, clean it up and sell it? I don't know.
The town did not assess those fines. Those came from the court.
Court, yeah, we can.
So we can't, I don't think we can touch the property because they don't owe taxes on it, correct? They paid their taxes, so we can't take their property.
So there's no recourse,
No.
like if they're just misusing the property or it's not the right zoning or they don't have a business license, we don't have any.
The only thing we can do is go to the court and,
Then, yeah, I guess I'm still with Ben.
I don't know, if the courts can't do it, then it can't be done. And heaven help the rest of us, because the whole town will go that way.
well, that's the problem. And I think there's several areas, several places in this town that are getting that way. that do not have junkyard licenses.
And I want to thank you, I mean, obviously from this, you are keeping up on what's going on in town, and I appreciate that, because this should have been solved. It went to court 19 years ago, it should have been solved 18 years ago.
I think the first violation, I wrote a timeline down, just, I was gonna give you guys a timeline. Anyway, December 1st, 1990, notice of code violation operating a business without a site plan. And then it just got worse from there. Snyder Jumper's been on this since 03.
Okay, so we're sending it off to the attorney, at least for some legal advice.
Yeah.
We'll leave it here.
And obviously, I think whatever response I get back, I'm not gonna dig deeply into the attorney until we have
Right,
kind of some sort of expectation of a resolution, or at least what the options are.
right.
A could happen, B could happen, C could happen. But 19 years, despite the fines, despite the courts, to end up with, a mess in violation.
Well, it's the same mess.
Same mess. I don't know whether maybe the vehicles could be removed. Maybe DEP might have that authority, just remove the vehicles and the contamination. So I'll follow up with both. Or Bruce and
That's a
Dale.
good idea.
Okay. All right. So that's where we stand,
Okay,
okay?
so you're gonna follow up with courts, or you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to talk to DEP.
DEP and legal.
I'll call DEP on Thursday.
Yeah, we can go visit. I'll go.
Okay, I'll go over with you on Thursday morning for the next.
Okay, that'll work.
Cool,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bruce.
you.
very much.
Okay, Public Works Director, Ted Snowden on the Scout Hall update. Beautiful pictures.
Well, we found a few problems with the hall and some code violations that, smoke alarms and stuff. And we corrected all the problems and it should be up and running. Don't see any problems with it now.
No problems with it now? Okay,
So is this a before?
I
What
assume
are we
this is
looking at? What are these
before.
pictures?
This is before.
That was the mess the Boy Scouts left.
The boys did it.
Do we have Boy
taken it all
Scouts?
to the trash.
There's no Boy Scouts down there now.
No,
There's
it's
no
only
Boy
the Girl
Scouts.
Scouts upstairs, and downstairs was always designated to the Boy Scouts, and that's what you're looking at is downstairs, that's not the upstairs. And the Girl Scouts have always had the upstairs. And we painted and stuff, and we cleaned and we washed, upstairs, put our chairs away after every meeting and stuff. But downstairs has been Boy Scouts that have, in 8 years, I've seen like 6 different troops come through, and people leaving mess, and then somebody else coming in, they kind of pick it up, then they leave and they destroy it, and it's been on. So I don't know what's what with Boy Scouts, we have no control over, it's just, we just know that the hall has always been said, boys and girls.
Well, if, say for example, a Boy Scout troop were to all of a sudden start up in Wiscasset, do we have to be notified of that they're going to be using the Scout Hall? Or do they just go in and use it?
We should be notified.
I know they have to go through the headquarters down in South Portland to start up a troop and stuff, and I know for Girl Scouts, we have like one head that we all have to report to, a mid-coast area, and we have meetings once a month and stuff, and we have to report to them. And like if we're using the hall for something, or we, like the young lady was here, well, see, we have to get permission through the mid-coast and all that, if they want. So I don't know exactly how the Boy Scouts, I've never done the Boy Scouts. I know for us, we have to, get permission if we're doing stuff. And we have to write down, and we have to put it in a calendar, and they have to know every year, like, for us, we meet every other Monday, and we do it from September to June. They have to know that, and I have to tell them that every September, like, every other Monday, this is what we meet from 6 to 7.
Okay.
So I don't know how the Boy Scouts do it, I just know how we do it, and that we have to account for when we're there.
Catherine?
So this reporting is to your council?
The council, the head council
Okay, but
of
the
Girl
town
Scouts.
has never been notified?
Yeah, see, I don't know
I
how
don't-
that, I was always told the Legion Hall, like, I know when, Bill Corsett, is it Ben Corsett or Bill Corsett?
Bill.
Bill had, a couple of years ago, told me like, well, if you guys need paint or whatever, and he had given stuff, I guess, to the Boy Scouts, money for them to do stuff, And he said, if you guys need, let us know, we'll get it all fixed up. So I didn't know about the town part, I thought it was part of the Legion, is what I was summoned down to do. Until just like a week ago when somebody said, hey, Michelle, do you know da 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 da, and I was like, what? And it all threw, so I always went to the council, and then I was told the Legion, and that's how I've been told until Stacy Knight called me up and said, hey, Michelle, and we went through and cleaned up, and I said, well, we'll clean it, we'll do this, and tell me what we need to do, and we'll do it. And I didn't know anything about the town part of it until,
Well, I think the town owns the building and they
Right.
maintain it. We pay the electric and the sewer and the water and keep it painted and whatever else Ted Snowden says we need to do.
well,
So
painting
it is-
upstairs, I know us Girl Scouts paid for and did. We painted the walls upstairs and stuff,
Mhm.
and fixed the door, and we paid for that, and we bought the stuff.
That's good.
And, I was told by Dorset that they did give some money to the boys to do something, I don't know what they did, but I know last year they supposedly when there was a troop, he said they did, he said if you need, let us know, but that's all I knew.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was unaware there was even a Boy Scout troop active.
There is
One.
not right now.
There's not at all, but the question is, I guess the simplest way is who's covered on the insurance and how many keys are there, who's got them?
I know each one of us leaders have a key, and there's 4 leaders going on right now with girls. So I know there's 4 of us for sure that have keys. I don't know about, like I said, the boys. I know there's 4 of us that have had keys and we've had them for years. Because we've been, doing this and we've, like I said, I'm going into my 8th year. And there's a couple others that have been doing it for more than that. So I don't know who else has keys.
Yes, Bruce.
I used to be a Boy Scout leader and did it for 15 years. Originally, I think the building itself was given to the town for Boy Scout Hall. And then it became Scout Hall.
No.
It used to be the firehouse.
It used to be the firehouse, yeah.
But it was designated, well, it's still designated for Scout Hall.
Yeah, it's been a Scout Hall for about 40 years or so.
Yeah, so that was kind of what I was thinking of. But I don't know if there is even a Boy Scout troop in Wiscasset anymore.
Not right now. There hasn't been for about a year. Last year they stopped. There was one last year, and then when summer came, I don't know what happened, and they didn't come back in the fall.
But as far as I know of keys, unless they've changed the locks in the last 20 years, there's probably 100, 200 keys out there.
Yes. Bob?
At one time, the Legion, I believe, leased that building from the town in order to have it used as a scout hall. I think there was an agreement. And I know at one point, the board talked to the Legion about taking over responsibility of it, but they didn't want to. But I'm just kind of curious, if there is no Boy Scout troop, what does a road troop just show up and use the building and then leave it in a mess and leave, and we don't even know who it is? That sounds a little bizarre.
Well, that's why I was asking that question, as to if we would be notified if the Boy Scouts were to all of a sudden put a troop down there.
I think Boy Scouts would have to notify you because they have to notify their council that that's where they're going to be meeting. And then they would send a representative out to make sure it's okay.
Kim?
So, I think what would be good to have, what I would like to have is just an inventory of all of these buildings that we own and what they're being used for, how much use they're getting. Because I know we own several buildings in town. I think we own the museum. I think we own that building. We have the community center. We have this building. We've got the fire department. I'm just wondering, in these times when we're trying to reduce expenses, if maybe we could get a list and look at it all, put that on our list of things to do for next year, so we could maybe make some decisions.
Thank you. Yes, Kim?
Kim Dolce, Wiscasset. I ran into Wendy Donovan at the grocery store yesterday, and she was very concerned to hear that Scout Hall was on the agenda. Here's a letter that she wrote. Before I read you the letter, let me just ask the question, because Catherine looked very concerned when the young lady stood up before and was concerned that you would be selling Scout Hall. Is that on the agenda for this evening?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, then I just would like to give you her letter then. As you can see from the people who have gotten up and spoken, I know during budget workshops, Scout Hall came up and someone said, well, gee, is anyone even using it? And there was some speculation that maybe there was one brownie troop. It's clear from what Wendy says in her letter and from what these people have said that it's being used by a lot more girls.
And we don't even know about it.
Right, and that is problematic. It's absolutely problematic. But I won't take up your time reading this tonight. I'll give a copy to the newspapers as well. But I heartily agree with these people. If something's being used the way it is to benefit kids in town, I hope you don't consider selling it.
Thank you.
Years ago, my kid went to a camp in that Scout Hall. And then the camp got kicked out. So like someone had set up a camp and they charged money and my child was going, it was a writer's camp. And so he was there, it was day camp. He was like 3 or 4 years old, like writing stuff, drawing pictures. And no one, like somehow this person had set up a little business there and we went for several weeks in the summer. And I guess then the town got wind of it and kicked them out and they moved into a church. So, I mean, if we own these buildings, we should probably know what's going on, set something up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so as far as the board is concerned, we're not touching the Scout Hall, I assume, at this point in time.
We should get an inventory though of all our buildings.
Okay.
Maine Municipal have a list of the main buildings, and I'm sure that the bits that aren't on it.
Yeah.
The basic stuff, I'm sure we can find easily, but that clock tower, may not be on it.
Right.
And Scott Hall, I have no idea. I will.
Yes,
If
ma'am.
it's a matter of like you guys want to know information about like what, when we're using it, how much, we'd be more than willing to put something together, whatever it is, kind of information as Girl Scouts. I can't tell you what the Boy Scouts, but as us that are there, if you guys want to, like whatever information you guys want to know, we'd be more than glad to write it up and give it to you and, you know, let you know what's going on and stuff like
I
that.
think it would be helpful to know exactly when the Scout Hall is being used.
Okay.
And by whom.
Yeah, well, it's.
So there is no misconception
So I'll
of
go, I
who's
can
using
go
it.
get the other troops and tell them like what, and I can go actually on the website and I can pull off, because like I said, we always have to put in there, for Girl Scouts anyway. This is when our meetings are, this is where we meet the time, and I can pull off the four or five troops that are going right now, and I can give you that list.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll go on unfinished business. 4th of July parade update. Kim Anderson.
So the parade committee of a few people got together last week and we went through a list of things. I'll just update you really quickly. So the theme of the parade will be Yankee Doodle Dandy. And this is basically last year's poster with a little update with a Yankee Doodle Dandy there. We are keeping all of the same parade categories. We're going to have first, second, and third prize with ribbons for each category. And then we would like to have an overall prize, so best entry, first, second, and third prize. And the committee would like to know if these cash prizes could come out of the celebrations committee. If not, like, they want to fundraise it, but it would be $100 for first prize, best overall entry, $75 for second, and $50 for third. We discussed some names for Grand Marshal, which we will continue to consider. We've selected some judges and approached the judges, and let me see, other discussion. We've got the registration forms. We're going to get these out in the town office, the community center, the Chamber of Commerce office, and online. Pat Cloutier from the Chamber is going to pull all this together. We discussed some names for Grand Marshal, which we will continue to consider. We've got the registration forms. We're going to get these out in the town office, the community center, the Chamber of Commerce office, and online. Pat Cloutier from the Chamber is going to pull all this together. We would like to have, this is something that came up between Pat and someone from the fire department. We haven't finalized it, but there's talk of potentially having a breakfast that morning as a fundraiser for the fire department at 6 a.m. that they would put on. So that's possibly happening. And we need the town manager and the chief of police to make sure that the parade route is set and everything that needs to happen with MDOT and the police happens. I actually don't know what all of the mechanical parts of that are, but I figure you guys can make sure that we have whatever we need to fix the roads, and I defer that all to you. Yeah, and that's it.
That's it. Okay,
That sounds good.
very good.
Any questions? Oh, and if you want candy, we're gonna have to find someone to buy the candy, because since we took Parks and Rec out of it, we don't have a person who can go buy the candy and get reimbursed for the candy. But maybe you can buy the candy.
He likes to go.
He likes to throw the candy, so maybe he can, like, throw some in his shopping cart up at Walmart and,
I'll go.
because otherwise I don't know if we'll have that. I mean, I guess I can put it on my list.
I was only going to, I certainly would appreciate the suggestions, but the ultimate choice of the Grand Marshal is always read to the Board of Selectmen.
That's correct. Yes.
But certainly suggestions are more.
Yes, Catherine.
I say one thing that you might want to think about adding to your list, like going to Wiscasset Ford and asking them to provide a convertible for the Grand Marshal.
Yes.
Correct.
One of our committee members has a convertible,
Oh,
she said
okay.
that we could use.
Oh, good.
And it's
Well,
white,
Yeah.
so we just
Okay.
decorate it.
Perfect.
So, I know another lady who has a convertible. But we're not
It's a
asking.
two-seater, that includes the driver, so
Okay.
you might have two people that are.
So I think that's all underway, and we probably should have started like 3 weeks earlier, but it's all good. We have a whole month.
It will all come together quite well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ken, for that update. Okay, tax acquired property update. Bernice.
We have a list of 5 properties that are, that have foreclosed, and the board needs to decide what to do with them. The first one is Shannon Adams, and it's a mobile home in a park at 940 Gardner Road. There is currently a tenant in it. It is in the trailer park. I don't know that we would want a realtor to list it with the tenant in there. I don't know if we can just put it out to bid and see if we could have a purchaser that would take it on with the tenant.
Well, wouldn't, if you put it out for bid, wouldn't that be part of the bid process, that they would either have to move the trailer? Is that correct?
Yes.
They would either have to move it or negotiate something with the trailer park and the person living there?
Right.
Okay.
The next one is Gage Wallstrom, and it's a mobile home on 31 Easy Street. We have contacted, or tried to contact Gage. I don't even believe he lives in town any longer from what we've been able to research online. And we also contacted the person that does own the property. We've not heard back from them either. So our recommendation is to put that out to bid as well. There is nobody in that one that we're aware of. The next one is David Dutton, and he is deceased. It is a mobile home on 295 Old Bath Road, which is the property of his mother's. My recommendation was to just leave it until the property itself forecloses. Since she is deceased, there was a gentleman in here today that knows someone with family. There is a niece that lives in Harpswell, of Maxine Croxford, that would be David's mother. But they left a will, so there is no will to probate. Whether or not those descendants will, or heirs will decide to probate it is anybody's guess. Unless the town wants to go ahead and put that trailer up for sale as well and move it off there. But if that's the case, we need to advertise as an unknown owner beforehand. The next, yes.
Under the Bethel one,
Yes.
It forecloses in March of 2020.
The Dutton one is already foreclosed, which is a mobile home on Maxine Crawford's property.
Because the mother's place forecloses in March of 2020.
Correct.
When that happens, do they lose all rights to any probate once it's gone this far?
I would believe so, yes. But I'm wondering, because like I said, there was a gentleman in here today, there's a reverse mortgage on Maxine Crawford's property. So I don't know why the bank hasn't come forward and claimed their right to that by paying it. Maybe they're waiting until the actual foreclosure happens, which is sometimes typical. They'll wait until the actual foreclosure happens.
Can you take out a reverse mortgage on something if the taxes haven't been paid? Apparently.
They were paid up until she passed.
They were paid.
They were paid. She was paying them up until she passed. Yes.
Question.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, if I could, I'm not sure about the mechanics of this, but the mobile home we foreclosed on,
Correct.
does it matter that it's on that property, and couldn't we just put it out to bid?
We can, but since there is a deceased person that's involved, it's not that we just can't find them. We need to advertise as an unknown owner to see if somebody comes out of the woodwork that has an interest in it.
This would be a relative of Duncan's.
A letter that we publish in the newspaper.
Right, but you're not looking for a relative of Crawford, you're looking for a relative of David Duncan.
Looking for a relative of David
I
Dutton.
see, okay, I misunderstood.
Right, and it was in David Dutton's name and his partner's name, and she also has passed. But see, she has a daughter. This gentleman that was in today told us that she has a daughter. He's trying to get us as much information as he can. Very grateful that that gentleman came in today and gave us some information. So at this point in time, we would advertise it in the newspaper as an owner unknown because he is deceased and see if she comes forward.
I think we should proceed with that.
We can, I mean, if that's what the wishes of the board is we can advertise in the newspaper for Carolyn King and David Dutton that we're looking for any heirs or interested parties in that property before we go to sale. I would talk to the attorney to find out just what the verbiage is and what we would need to advertise.
And I agree with the first two, put them out for bid.
Yeah, and I think we should put this one out to bid after the proper procedure is going.
Okay, so do we have permission to just, we need to, I don't feel comfortable just advertising it. I think we need the attorney's guidance into what verbiage needs to be advertised in the
Oh,
newspaper.
definitely.
Okay.
The next two are for,
Which leads me into the next one, which we may want to get in touch with an attorney on too, because there is, Susan Jones is still alive, but she's in a healthcare facility, still in the state of Maine, and I've talked to the healthcare facility. And there is an occupant in that home, which I believe is her daughter. So in order to sell that, I don't know if our realtor is here.
yes, she is.
She asked if we were going to evict before we tried to sell it. Because of that one, most likely, they're not gonna wanna buy it with somebody in there that's basically a squatter.
It's a whole family.
It's a whole family that's in there.
Yeah, there's 3 teenagers and 2 adults. And for a long time, there was one teenager living there on his own, and then all his friends were coming over. All of the stuff that was in the house is out in the yard. It's a mess.
Okay. So I guess we need direction from the board of how we want to proceed with that one. And the last one is the one that doesn't seem to have any problems that we actually could list with the realtor. We've searched high and low to try to find this Colleen Powell. We don't find evidence that she's deceased. And it is 2.42 acres with a small concrete building on it on Fuller Pit Road that we could list with the realtor.
Okay. All right, well, I think the first 3 we've kind of like decided what we're gonna do on. The last one, I say, let's list it, get rid of it. Susan Jones, I think we definitely do need some advice from an attorney on how we can proceed with that one. And getting the people out of the home.
It'll be an eviction process of
Because
some
basically
sort.
they're squatting, they're not
They're not on the deed.
They're not on the deed.
And we own the property.
And we own it, yes.
There is also, USDA has an interest in that property, but they've not responded, because they've signed the notices that we've sent them of lien and foreclosure, but we've not heard back from them.
It's quite a lengthy eviction process, but I don't know what the legalities would be with, from what Kim said, that the people living there have no ownership or anything, so it may not be quite as complicated as renters.
I don't know, but again, legal would have to give us some direction on how to proceed with that.
Okay. So we're all set with that?
Yeah, Bernice and I.
Yeah, we've got the direction that the board has asked us to.
Okay. Okay. That's taken care of. We have an audit update with Fred Brewer.
This is the report from the firm, and this is explaining what the town's responsibilities are going forward. And it's up to the board whether they want to monitor that or whether they're getting the credit card.
I kept this one short and sweet.
Good.
So this is kind of a summary.
Don't tell us how bad we are, tell us how good we're doing.
So keep in mind, this is as of last June, so you look at your cash position and you kind of see that you started at about 1.7 million, it's now down around 1.2. And then we'll float around a little bit, but if you go down and you look at, it says total annual cash expenses. So this is what the general fund is spending every year, so you're right around 14 million. So that cash in 2016 at 1.7 was about 1.4 months cash that you had on hand. So if you look at it, you're at 1.4, 1.45, and now you're at 1. So you were able to get through the month of July on what cash you had, and you were trying to collect your excise taxes, your old outstanding taxes, all those things to make sure that you could keep paying bills. So luckily, you're able to manage the cash, and you haven't had to borrow on the TAM this year, which is what the intent is. You also look at accounts receivable. It's $597,000 in 2016. It's now 1.3 million. So there is money that is coming in slowly. Some of it's the school's money and some of it's yours. Look at your taxes due, and that's holding pretty steady. You're collecting roughly what you assess every year in total, looking at the big picture. And then other assets is pretty consistent. So you look at your accounts payable, it's $1 million in 2016, it's $991,000 in 2018. The accrued payroll, which is just basically the summer salaries for the school, that holds pretty steady. It fluctuates a little bit, but it doesn't vary that much. And then your deferred revenue was $300,000, $367,000, and now it's $519,000. So then you look at your fund balance, which is what everybody is usually most concerned with. So your restricted balance, $931,000, 1.3, now it's at 1.4. Most of that's the school budget. So it's whatever they have left in fund balance. The assigned, 841, 620, and then it drops to 75,000. That was because you didn't take any money out of your undesignated funds to reduce taxes this year. So if you look at 2016, your unassigned fund balance is 37,174, now you're at 333,000. And then I did a little snapshot of the reserve balance down at the bottom, so you can see that that's increased even though you were taking funds out. Well, open it up to any questions. John does have the management representation letter, which I need a signed copy of to complete my audit file. It basically talks about all kinds of different assumptions that are embodied in the financial statements. So it talks about pension, obligations, talks about other post-employment benefits, which you guys actually have 3 plans. There's a lot of just kind of verbiage that's in there.
So what do we need to do with this?
And my understanding, Fred, is you want the town to acknowledge receipt of this and also acknowledge the responsibility we have going forward to
Yep.
fully inform you,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, and it talks about in there that the minutes were available for us to review, which you put them online, so they're out there. It's just, there's a lot of just things that they keep adding to that representation letter. Some of it involves new accounting pronouncements. So, we're up to, it's like 92 now.
When are we going to get the audit?
You'll be starting it shortly with Bernice,
Yeah, we're
right?
starting with Bernice, doing preliminary stuff, and then, have we set a date for?
The actual audit,
Yeah, which we can set that when
Yeah.
we're here, so. Yeah, I mean, we had numbers for you in September, just kind of waiting on the school stuff to finalize, so.
We have the final one for June 18.
All right. We'll have it before commitment, is that what we're saying?
We'll have the town side of it to know what our fund balance is, yes, like we did last year.
Okay.
But unless the school's audit is completed, we won't have the actual completed audit, because we always have to wait for their numbers.
And Bernice had booked a lot of the receivables and payables. Well, when they got done doing the school audit, they actually booked additional receivables before they finalized the audit. So it went, they did a draft, and then they did the final copy, which had these receivables in it. So it changes, and it depends on what they bill the state. I mean, a lot of that was for Title I and local entitlement.
Okay. But we'll know our side
We'll know
Yes.
our side.
Oh, yeah.
before commitment.
Yeah. Not that we want you to use any of that fund balance.
Well, we know that. Yes, Bernice, we hear you.
Question?
Yes, Bob.
The second line, accounts receivable, which I think it does not include any taxes, because that's the next line.
Right.
That's almost twice what it was last year.
Yeah, it keeps creeping up. Some of it has to do with the school and when they're actually billing the state for whether it's local entitlement, Title I, because those are reimbursement based. So they'll spend the money and then they have to request reimbursement.
I see.
So it's a timing thing. So that 1.3 million, you received a big chunk of it in July and August. So that helped you get through those 2 months. Even though you didn't physically have the cash in hand at the end of June, you eventually got the cash.
I see. So that, at the end of the year, that number will probably, the fiscal year, that number will be a lot lower because some of this money has come in. And it'll more closely match up with the previous years.
I would hope that it goes down.
Okay, yep.
I mean, it seems like it's rather high, but it depends on when stuff gets billed and when it gets paid.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, do you want the board to authorize the chair to sign the representation letter, or do you want to authorize me?
I'm gonna make a motion for you to sign it.
I'll second.
That's all right.
All those in favor? Yes, Bernice, you voting too?
No, I'm asking the question when I recognize my Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your recommendation for our fund balance?
I would love to see 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah. It's not something that you have to do immediately, but it's a goal to shoot for, especially where you commit taxes in September. It would help get through that kind of low point,
Right.
especially where you've got.
And we have a third month at the end of June of 18.
Okay.
So you want to raise it from what to what?
Well, it does have 1 month.
So roughly double. Just in short one.
Yeah.
So you need to go up to about almost that.
Well, that's not going to happen.
I didn't say it had to be instantaneous, but it
What
would be
was
nice
that?
to.
I said it's not going to happen.
What's not going to happen?
We're not going to double the fund balance.
Then you need to look at your fund balance policy, because our fund balance policy says that it will
I'm
be.
just telling you, we're not gonna come up with $333,000.
It depends on excise collections, and I mean, that's what drives a lot of people. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Fred. Okay, the next one, Hesper and Luther Little Project update. Bill Brinwell.
There's a typo there, it's actually Mr. Gimbel, I was saying,
Gimbel.
say him, having to correct that, sorry about that.
Good evening. I previously appeared before the board in January of 2018 and presented the idea of a permanent display for the artifacts remaining from the schooner Hesper, which were stored outside at the town landfill. The board agreed for me to explore the options which were available, including sources of potential funding. They declined to participate in any funding at that point. I said the use of this display would more fully utilize the waterfront and bring more people into downtown. There are two kinds of artifacts from the Hesper. One is the wooden pieces. There's two of them. They're about 18 feet long. One is called the main board, which has Hesper written down on it, and one is called the trail board, which is fancy detail work. So those are the wooden pieces. They're about 18 feet long. And then there's a variety of cast iron pieces from the vessel too. Davits, bollards, cleats, etc. I'm sorry to have taken so long to get back to you, but various medical issues, affecting several individuals, have delayed progress so far. So far, we have raised $625, with pledges of other funds of $2,000 as the exact amount needed becomes clear. I have obtained quotes for the contracting for the entire time, but the amounts exceeded, the amount, $14,000, exceeded what I could reasonably expect to raise. We have selected the site for the installation, which is the sign of the harbor master's shed facing towards the Wiscasset Yacht Club. The name board and the trail board will be protected by a high strength plastic and wooden case and attached to the side of the harbor master's shed. More importantly, we've gotten promises of in-kind aid from several local institutions. The Maine State Prison Workshop, for example, has agreed to paint the name board and trail board and construct the protective case. The town of Wiscasset has transported the cast iron pieces to Machinery Services Company for sandblasting. They were quite rusted, and so they need to be sandblasted and painted before they can appear outside. Ken Bodine has agreed to do the sandblasting at no cost, only charging for the actual cost of the sand. I don't know what sand costs these days, but we'll need to pay that. The sandblasting project should be finished by now. What I'm asking the board to authorize is three things. First, using town personnel and truck to move the wooden pieces, the two long pieces, to the Maine State Prison. Second, use town personnel and truck to move the cast iron pieces that have been sandblasted from Ken Bodine's to the pier. And third, obtain an invoice from Ken Bodine, which I can certainly do, and reimburse him for the sand. We have, as I say, $625, and there's more money available there if that's necessary. So that's what I would ask the board to authorize at this point. I'm just wanting to bring you up to date on where we are.
Thank you.
We know where the Maine State Prison is, but where is Mr. Bodine moved forward?
If you go to the landfill and you come back towards Main Street, there's two Quonset huts up on sort of a hill. And those are his.
Oh, local, okay.
Okay. Do we have the capability to move these? Do we have the trucks and trailers?
Well, Doug Fowler moved the cast iron pieces from here to Ken Bodine's. We have
What about the pieces that have to go down to the state prison? Do we have the capability to move those?
I believe so. I believe we have a truck, a dump truck, and 2 longish trailers, which are big enough for the...
Do we have the truck and 2 trailers?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Just checking. Okay, so what is the board's pleasure? You want to give the authorization? Well, I need a motion.
I move to authorize, with my authorizing the town to move the cast iron pieces from the sandblasting place to the pier, the wooden pieces from the transfer station to the main state prison, and to reimburse the sandblasting guy for the
For what he does with
sand
sandblasting.
up to a certain amount.
You said it was 650,
No, that's how much we have.
Okay.
I don't know what the bill is. I don't know what the sand cost is. He contributed his labor, so.
I'm sure it's special sand on certain.
Susan?
Sorry. Before we authorize movement of permanent installations to the pier, it should come before the HPC. I think it's a terrific project, and I doubt if there'll be anybody objecting to it, but if we've got an ordinance, we should live by it.
Okay, thank you.
I guess before I finish, I would also like to know what the waterfront committee, like you guys are support this plan?
We haven't talked.
No.
We haven't been for a committee, but that sounds good to me.
Well, one of the things that's going to be affecting the town over the next 20, 50 years is the effects of the MDOT project. And one of the things that I think we should be trying to do is create more reasons for people to come downtown. This will be one.
Well, there is going to be a procedure that we're going to have to go through, and I'm going to say it again. I think a lot of this is great. I think it's what the town needs, but again, I think the MDOT project has to be completed before we even start thinking of going down there and doing something. These are all great ideas. This is my opinion. Personally, I would like to just see MDOT do their thing, get out, and then start planning how we want our waterfront to look like and to entice visitors. But like I said, that's my thinking.
In the meantime, should he get the certificate of appropriateness?
Yes, that would be the first thing on the agenda would be to get that.
From the historic commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Catherine?
They already have an outstanding bill for sandblasting, is that my understanding, or
No.
you're up to a certain point, or?
I have not discussed this project, the cost of this project.
Okay.
with Mr. Bodine. I don't know what it's going to cost.
Okay.
He's contributing his labor, but he wants to be repaid for his cost,
Oh, that's,
which is
Okay.
the same. What sand costs.
We should maybe know how much the sand costs.
it's not hard to find out. But he needs to do the certificate. business
We need
with
to
the
do the
station.
certificate first.
Okay, so that would be step one, and then that'll give us time to think about this.
We still can have these things sandblasted and painted.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Whether or not it would be nice if they went to the waterfront, but if they didn't, there were plenty of places in town that
Right.
they
I think
could
we-
go.
Yes, I think we need to do the transporting to the
We can
state
do two things
prison
at once here.
and get that taken care of. Get the HPC, get that taken care of. And then once the project is done, decide where we want to put them.
So then should I take back my motion?
No, your motion is fine.
No,
We need to put an amount in there up to $1,000 or?
We don't have $1,000, so you better not put it up to 1,000.
Well, I thought you said he had 650 and someone had pledged $2,000.
There are pledges from other places for up to 2,000. 1,000 coming from me and 1,000 coming from Lincoln County Historical Association. There's some degree of question about the Lincoln County Historical Association because it was the last president who made that commitment. I have to go back to the current president and their kind of project, so I think they'll be willing to do it.
Okay.
Should anybody second the motion?
I will second it.
Yes, Bob?
I think if someone talked to Ken Bowman about what the cost would be, I think he probably could come up with a pretty good estimate.
Yeah, I think he could too. He'd probably be able to give us a good estimate of what it was gonna cost.
Well, he'd already done it, so he's used the sand, I guess.
He's already has. He just hasn't submitted a bill, is that correct?
I haven't asked him for one. I'm sure he'd be happy to get the bill and get paid.
Okay,
So
all right. Let's get the bill. then. Okay.
Should I come back to the board and show you the bill, or?
yeah, just give it to us.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Just give it to us.
Okay.
Bring it in and give it to the town manager.
So wait, are we gonna vote on it then?
Yes, we
So
are.
then we're
Give it
gonna
back.
stick
Give it
it
back.
up to 1,000? I'm just wondering if that's not enough, then what, do we come bring it back in 2 weeks?
Let's see the bill first.
We'll see the bill.
And then,
I'll stop by your place tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
I guess. Is it all right? It seems kind of weird, but okay.
All those in favor of the motion? 5-0. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, sewer rate increase, set effective date.
okay, the board at the last meeting agreed with the 30% increase, and the billing cycle isn't
As clear cut as we thought it was.
as clear cut. They have to refer to books and
Staggered.
3.
Yes,
It's
it's got a
staggered.
staggered bill.
So Bernice has put together a graphic. I'll leave
I'm not here with you.
One back, because I don't have one.
Thank you, Bill.
Do you want to make a stab at this? I mean, they have book 1, book 2, book 3. It's a historical carryover from long ago. And so they don't bill everybody at the same time. They bill them basically a third of the town, ratepayers at a time. And so can you, as we put in the date, we have to acknowledge that some people's billing cycle will bring them into territory where they'll be paying a different rate until we get all the months lined up. So if you could explain it better.
They'll be
please.
billing for April, May, and June at the end of this month. They will be billing for May, June, and July in July. And they'll be billing for June, July, and August in August. So the question is, what date are we going to make the new rates in effect? Are we going to wait until the September billing so that all of July, August, and September, which is this upcoming fiscal year, are at the new rate? Or are we going to go ahead and do it in July when, in theory, consumption for May and June should have been at the old rate and July should be at the new rate? I've talked to people in the water company, from what I understand, when they changed their rates, they just did it as of July 1st. So any billing that happened after that was at the new rate. That would make the most sense as far as trying to balance our budget with the 30% increase, because our budget is based on from July through June, and that is what we're relying upon the revenues for. But it's at the board's discretion when they want this to be in effect, for which billing cycle.
Well, I don't see any problem with July 1.
That sounds reasonable.
Because they'll bill at the end of the month, so we'll still fall within our 30 days if they vote today to do it as of the billing for July, which is done at the end of the month.
Okay.
Motion.
Oh, we need a motion?
I move that the effective date would be July 1, 2019 for the increase for books 1, 2, and 3, or however you want it.
I'll second it. All those in favor? 5-0. All right, thank you.
Hey, John, septic receiving rates as
Yeah,
well?
did you, get a few papers?
So, I believe what we decided for a camper would go to $25. And I believe we went from 5 cents to 13 cents for septic tanks from people in Wiscasset.
I thought we already voted on that.
You did, but I wanted to make these effective at this, I wanted to talk.
Oh, you want an
about
effective date? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, well then,
You want them July 1st?
If
okay.
the board's acceptable to that, I'd just as soon do that as well.
But we could make it effective today, couldn't we? I mean, if that's the people who come down to the station, right?
Yeah, but I think you probably ought to follow the guidelines of what you did for your rates as well. Didn't make it.
July 1?
Why? What's the connection?
Because it is part of the user fees, I guess technically. But if you, whatever the board would like to do, that's fine with
But
me.
they're voluntary, right? I mean, what we're talking about now, people do not have to use the sewage treatment plant.
That's correct. Yeah.
So it's all voluntary, as opposed to the ratepayers who really don't have a choice.
Correct.
I would think we'd make it effective now. Somebody comes down tomorrow and wants their whatever pumped out, why wouldn't we?
I'm fine either way. Whatever the board would like to do.
I would be inclined, you know, I understand the desire to get the money a little bit earlier. It's 3 weeks, but from the point of view of keeping track of this, I just assume that it's a simple date.
I would think it would be fair to the two major vendors that we have the dump there to let them know, so that their costs, they're going to have to incur, they give them time to increase their rates to let their users know. Well, I mean, they've got to bill their people that they're picking it up and bringing it here for.
Actually, we don't have, their idea, the
Yes.
porta potty guys.
Yeah.
Their rate isn't changing. That's
Their
all.
rate isn't changing?
No,
So
so
who
it's
is
only,
changing?
it'd be like Griffin or Ideal Septic, those septic tanks.
Oh, okay.
And Griffin comes in like once a month. I told him there was a penny increase
So
coming.
it's not all both of them that we're
No.
billing now?
No,
I
no.
take that back.
That's why, you know, we're talking about people who are coming to the sewage treatment plant voluntarily. They don't have to take part in this. Why would we give them a break?
Catherine?
What is really easier for the billing system to work as smoothly as possible, but, you know, say, having it July 1 as opposed to doing it immediately? That's what I'm thinking of.
Well, I guess my point is, we're talking the apples and oranges.
Okay.
What we do with the sewage treatment, what we do with the water bill.
Right.
That's
But I
nothing to
thought
do with
the
what he's
water people
asking
did
about
all
now.
the billing for us.
They do.
So I.
But on this we bill
We bill ourselves.
We bill us,
from
okay,
here.
that's not
So I think it's just a matter of, I mean, the amounts would vary anyway depending on the volume that they,
He just emails me a list of who and how much, and I send them the invoice.
That's starting tomorrow, and off we go.
Can you make a motion?
Then we have the new, what is the exact wording? I don't want to get it wrong here.
Let's see, campers, we're going from $5 to 25.
We already voted on that, we would just need to choose the date for the new fees. We voted on that last 2 weeks ago.
I just don't know the verbiage to use. Like, the effective date would be tomorrow.
That's fine. Yep. For the increase
Septage or
to
something,
the
what do you
camper
call it?
fees to 25.
Septic?
And septage fee from 5 cents to 13 cents per gallon.
Okay.
and we refer to the date of the motion,
All right.
Yep.
which I don't have, I didn't dig that far back.
All right.
Effective June 1st, June 5th, tomorrow.
All right, I'll second it. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, hold on. All right. New businesses. We have new business licenses for Laura Breyer doing business at Coastal Clean by Laura B. Jessica Teixeira and Gabe McCoy doing business as Mammy's Bakery. Carolyn Adams doing business as Stage Left Photography, and Lincoln County Dental LLC. Yes.
I have a question about the timeline on these, because I know that one of these businesses is already open for business. So I know we talked about this before with Fix It, and there was a question like, how are people doing business when they don't have a license? And Mammy's Bakery's been open, and their business license is here on their desk. Do we have, and I'm okay with approving it, but I just would like to know if we have a little checklist that a person, like if I want to open a new business and I walk in to the town office, am I going to be handed a list? Like, you need to do this, you need a business license and a sign permit, and if applicable, historic preservation, or do we have something like that? And
Well, interestingly enough, I was talking to our town clerk about exactly that, to have a cover sheet list off for people. Here's this, when to apply, what the delays are, what the approval times would be. Yes, we're working on that.
because I would think if somebody started the application process, then maybe we could say like, oh, you have, once you submit your application, you have permission to open for business before the Board of Selectmen approves it. But if not, then why are we doing these after the fact? Like, how does that happen? Why is that happening?
I have bought cookies at Mammy's Bakery. They don't have a Mammy anymore. But I
Were they
did.
good? It looks good on Facebook. I haven't been in there.
So you turned them in?
I didn't know. I didn't know they were not fully documented, shall we say. They were for the reason. Yeah, I'm not aware of the fact that they have jumped the gun. And, but it is a good point. I'll have to.
I just would like to know, because I heard from another business that they are having trouble right now, like opening up a business. And they were told they needed a historic preservation thing, but they're not changing any buildings. And I couldn't really help them. I'm like, you need to talk to our town manager. But why is this a question mark? We should probably just have a little checklist and pass it out and have it be consistent with the rules, like don't open your business until you get this signed. What if we didn't like Mammy's? They're already open. What if we didn't like Fix It? He's been open for a year.
Okay. I got too many hands going up here. Catherine, you first.
Well, I just wanted to point out that just every one of these business applications are dated May. And Mammy's, for example, is dated, this is the completion date, I guess, that she turned it in, the 16th of May. So these must have gone through some bit of a process to get to our desk for voting. So, but I think your checklist idea is a good one.
Well,
and when we get a town planner from the county, that will be taken care of.
Like, if we're okay with them opening, like once these guys sign off, and then our thing is just like a formality.
It's a formality, yes.
Then I'm fine with it, but I know we had an issue with the other one. I'm just curious, like, we should have a little list.
But you're right, I mean, these have met all the requirements with the exception of the final word from the town. And I don't think there'll be anybody likely to object at this point, but you do make a point about the certificate of appropriateness from the historical society. So that.
But none of these would need that, right? Because you only need that if you're making a change to outdoors.
Right. I believe so.
Right?
Bob?
I was just going to say, I think that these are kind of hit or miss. And when I researched the application for Fix, I asked the town clerk to give me a list of all the businesses that had a business license. And I noticed one of the businesses, it would appear that we wrote off over $10,000 in personal property taxes has never had one. I noticed there's some others that didn't have it. And if, as John said before, we have the ability to find these people, maybe that'd be one to start with.
Yes, Kim?
As far as.
Could you please stand up?
Sure, I'm sorry. As far as a checklist, I would be more than happy to volunteer some time to help with that. I have years of experience writing detailed instructions for various different things, and I can see a lot of issues. Some very minor on that different applications in the town. Little tweaks could make a big difference. So if you need any help.
Well, I use design forms, and I hate the look of some of these
No,
things.
it's not even a matter of the form itself, it's the matter of the way in which questions are posed. For example, when you ask someone, do you need a sign permit? That doesn't ask them whether or not they're going to have a sign. If they're going to have a sign, then yes, you're going to need to have a sign permit. So.
I'd certainly vote for that.
Thank you very much. Okay, we need a motion to approve these businesses.
I'll move that we accept all of these submitted business applications.
Second.
I need a second.
Bob seconded.
Oh, Bob said? Okay, all right. All those in favor? Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
my name is Dick McLean. I'm on the Board of Directors for Lincoln County Dental. Just a question, with that approval, does that mean that as of this moment, we are now authorized to open?
Yes, you are.
Okay. And do I, if I come in tomorrow, do I get a copy of that signed document, or is that appropriate, or what happens now?
Generally speaking, it'd be referred back, as it's currently configured, generally speaking, it'd be referred back to the minutes of the meeting, and that would be, once checks
So I
are
don't-
done, and practice is on.
You need something framed?
No.
on the wall?
No.
But it's a good thought.
Yes, it is.
No reason,
Maybe we should have that.
yeah, that should be
Seems to me
pretty
like we should
pretty
get like a
straightforward.
little certificate to make it official,
But
put it in
if,
frame.
this is a matter of my own, because I'd like to have records of things. If I were to come in sometime tomorrow or the next day, could someone at the front desk give me a copy of it?
The minutes may not be ready, but I'd be happy to.
Oh, go to the minutes, I mean, a photocopy of this,
Yeah,
a signed document or
I'm
something.
more
Can
than
we give
happy.
them a copy of this with
Yeah,
the,
I
Approved on it.
yeah, with our,
I just say approved it.
Yeah, it says date approved right down here.
Yeah, okay.
You can put a date approved on it.
Appreciate that. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
thank you, good luck.
Okay, scholarship expenditure approval for 2019 General John and Mrs. Jeanette French Scholarship and the 2019 Lawrence B. Haggett Memorial Scholarship. I need a motion.
Move is presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. We have some quick claim deeds. Eddie LLC, map U11, lot 001C. Travis Whitney, map R07, lot 0039-014. Kenneth Chapman, map U18, lot 005-8. Samuel and Ruth Lighton, map U07, lot 0039-009. I'll make a motion to approve the quick claim deeds.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Sewer abatement request. This is for Samuel Patterson. I don't He says the new tenant's tub connection let go, and they had to wait for someone to get it shut off. And they consumed 103 gallons, is that it?
I haven't seen it.
For a bill of $1,853.20.
How long did it take them to shut it off?
Well, that was my thought, just to burn that.
It's gotta be more than 103 gallons for that price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that must be for the
It was for 3 months.
data contested bill 1419. That's the one he's contesting.
They said they were away in Florida and they didn't know about it until March when they came home.
No, we have a policy that says somebody has to apply within 30 days.
Yes, we do.
And we have denied other people because they have not come forward in 30 days.
We have.
Yes.
We have, since I've been here. we
Yes,
have.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I need a motion. What do you want to do with it?
I move we deny the abatement.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Review of waterfront pier policy. John?
Yeah, obviously as the activity is picking up, getting more and more information about the activities on the pier. And you'll see in your package is the pier policy updated by, I believe, this board back in February of 2018. And so I just started the process, had a nice meeting with Susan Wilson, went through some of the, along with Bruce Mullins, to talk about what we saw in the policy, what we would need to do going forward. And certain things, well, first off, it says that the final determination is always the town manager, which I was not aware of. And it talked about the permitting process, the calendar, when applications should be received, and so on and so forth. And I can see that the receipt date for applications should be moved earlier, and the decision should be notified to the board earlier, because, as you know, you all got on April 30th, you got a list of what the committee had approved, and that was effectively as businesses were opening. So I would like to see that, and again, going forward, I would like to see that pushed back probably to March. So as we're looking at new people coming forward, and there's been a flurry of them, we know what's available, and we have more of a chance to look those over. There are safety concerns in any business operation. There's a concern about vehicles on the dock and how many. A concern about the parking, which, as it's spelled out here, there is no parking provided for vendors or their employees. They're expected to leave that parking available for the customers and visitors. So all of these things, I don't think anybody's looked particularly hard at this. However, in the late summer and fall, it'll be time before everybody's gone away for winter and such like. It'll be appropriate to modify these in line with what I've seen and input from people on the waterfront committee and such like. So, in a nutshell, I'm just bringing it up to the board that we need to review this thoroughly. We also need to follow it, because we don't follow it, like all these policies, there's no point in having it. So that's my short version,
Okay.
and that's without even looking at.
So this is something that we'll be doing soon after.
Yeah.
And I think we need to also, at that point in time, take up the permit, the cost of the permits.
Oh, totally. I think
And do a complete review of the policy.
everybody's very much aware of
A question, so you're talking about reviewing this towards the end of summer, the beginning of fall.
Right, exactly.
But between now and then, are we going to follow these policies?
I will have to discuss it with them, but I do have safety concerns. There is, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of signs down there. I don't know if they conform. We do have the Historical Preservation Society. I don't know if they've ever addressed anything there. I don't know whether
Because they're temporary, right?
the,
I thought that was because they were temporary structures.
well, exactly. But again, I've heard comments from people driving through town about how many banners and signs have assault them as they're coming through. So one of the things we're talking about is, in character with the historic nature and so on of Wiscasset. So it's important that we have a certain standard to which everybody would apply. But any kind of safety violation would be something I would follow up on.
I was just wondering in particular about item 5, in order to create a center of activity, blah, blah, blah. The business must operate for a minimum of 5 hours per day, at least 5 days per week. Because that was something that
did come up,
the Waterfront Committee recommended not to approve a business license.
Correct.
And then we approved it anyway. And I was just curious are we now going to, like if it turns out that QT's is not opened, are we gonna shut them down because this policy says we can?
One of the things, one of the modifications I'd be suggesting is if they did not want a vendor to come back, we should be notified before we open the process for applications. I mean, that's just common sense. It's a bit late to get notified April 30th that this vendor has not been approved when the vendor already had sent in the application. Those are the kinds of things I'm trying to
straighten out.
Because I think if you're not going to approve a vendor, you would do it at the end of the season. That gives them all winter to, either make some changes in what they want or, be at least fully aware that you're not going to approve them again. That's just my viewpoint, not waiting until 30 days before they want to start anything.
That would also maybe make it possible, like if there becomes to be a demand for those sites, which could entirely happen, then people would be like able to get in the queue to have the space.
Right. That we're not saving positions.
And just good management, consistent management is the purpose.
Okay.
So that's what I have.
All right, so we'll be dealing with that.
We'll be dealing with that
in September.
And as I go forward, and I've only been on I was going to say fish pier, but I'm on the waterfront pier once, so I'll go back and look. Yes, Susan.
Susan Robson, Wiscasset. So when you say you'll be reviewing it in September, we were going to start picking away at it following some of the suggestions that we've been hearing next week, and try to have a draft for you by September?
That'd be good.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
That'd be great, thank you. Okay, yes, Ben.
You brought it up earlier. I don't understand how pier beers ended up where they are. When that came before us a month or two ago, the waterfront committee, if I have it right, was seeking guidance from the board because it dealt with alcohol and that wasn't addressed. And we encouraged the person to go forward with that process. And now I'm told tonight that it was turned down because the waterfront committee didn't want it.
But he didn't have a liquor license at that point.
We never turned it down, we tabled it.
No, I know you didn't. No, I'm just saying that you came in with saying that you were kind of deferring it to us.
Right.
And we encouraged him to go forward. And tonight it's like, it's not gonna happen.
No, I agree. There was definitely confusion all the way through.
Yeah,
but
2 weeks ago, the guy was here, he wanted to.
John, I don't have any confusion with it. He has to obviously have a license and he has to have an alcoholic license and all of that. But we encouraged him to go through with the process. Whether it would be granted or not is another question. But we did encourage him to move forward with it.
yeah, he did tell me today that he had been talking to the liquor commission and they didn't give a yay or a nay because it's a little bit different. So I think the time frame, the fact that he only applied at the end of April and then getting into it, I don't know if this is his first time doing this or not, but it's a little bit different, and I'm not really faulting anybody.
Well, I'm trying to find out how we got where we got.
Well, I think we're still waiting for him at this point for the liquor license.
Well, no, he was told that you told us it was done with.
Well, no, what I said was that in the protocol, it's required that he has, before anything gets approved by the board, that it be recommended by the waterfront committee. And again,
That's not good. That's not what I understood. What I understood you to say was that the waterfront committee turned his application
no,
down.
absolutely not. I did not say that. I did not say that.
Oh, I had that understanding.
No, I was waiting on a recommendation from the water.
Because they brought it to us, and then we said go forward, and then that.
But they did not, at that point in time, if I remember what happened that night, the waterfront committee did not recommend one way or the other. They sent it to us.
And we said go forward. So
We
where's it
said
stand
for-
today?
We said for him to go forward because he needed the liquor license. And I don't feel we have, as a board, have either said yes or no to him at all.
But John said no. I
No.
thought I heard
What-
John say no
what I-
a few
what I
minutes,
s-
an hour ago.
No, what I said was that without the recommendation of the waterfront committee, it couldn't proceed. That's all I said.
Okay, so, but it's not over, then he's still trying to get his liquor license and he'll come back?
I don't know what he's going to do, but I was a bit surprised to be given for the first time, the full application that he submitted to the waterfront committee. And when I looked at it, there was a glaring omission. It wasn't recommended, and that's what I have to go on.
It doesn't sound like anything has changed then. He is still applying for his liquor license, and then when it gets done,
He can bring it back, and the next meeting of the waterfront committee isn't for some weeks.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're waiting for him on the liquor, that's how I'm looking at it. We're waiting for him on the liquor license.
All right, am I the only one who heard that? I thought that.
No, I mean, I brought up that it seems like we're not giving up, I don't know, something doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I mean, we encouraged him to go on with that.
As far as I'm concerned, we encouraged him to apply for his liquor license. He needed that before either the waterfront committee or the board of selectmen could approve it.
Sure.
He came in here unprepared, as far as I'm concerned. Once he has his liquor license, that changes the whole dynamics of the whole situation.
Right.
Then the waterfront committee can either recommend or not recommend and bring it forward to the board. And we can either recommend or not recommend,
Right.
whatever.
Okay.
But we are waiting on him.
Well, that's good, because I felt a little saddened when I heard John say that it had been turned down, and then I thought, well,
I did not say that.
I don't want
That's
question
what
the-
I heard from you.
any boards.
I'm sorry, I mean, I hate to argue with you, but I heard, that's how I heard it.
I'm gonna
I'm
watch
sorry
it
if
again on
that's how it came
YouTube.
about.
I'll send you a gift.
And I thought we were doing that because we overrode the waterfront committee as regards to the hours that somebody had to be open.
I didn't see that connection.
Well, if we can override one thing, we can override another.
We
But
can't
I thought
override him
you-
without having a liquor license. He has to have a liquor license.
Absolutely.
That is his stumbling block at this point in time.
Right, but we want to help this business again, or whatever, we're like not telling him no, we're not telling him anyone has turned him down.
I don't feel he's been told no. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't feel he has been told
I'll in
no.
the morning.
He has been told, this is what you have to do to come before the waterfront committee and the board of selectmen. And until he does that, he can come here every other Tuesday night. It's not gonna give him anything.
No, I think we all understood that, and somehow I got the impression that John said earlier this evening that it was turned down and it was a done deal. But I misunderstood, and that's okay.
That's
We can
okay,
move on.
maybe I
Well,
misspoke.
I mean, I misunderstood because I never heard that they had to go back before the waterfront committee, that we had told them basically move forward and do everything else and we will consider it.
I didn't get it.
Well, that's
When's the
how I
water,
heard
when's the
it.
next waterfront committee meeting? Next question.
But it raises another question. It says you have to apply by February 1st. All right, if come June, there's 2 or 3 open spaces, does that mean nobody can apply till the next February?
Well, that's why I'm looking at the policies.
Those are, I think, things that need to be tweaked as to exactly how we can handle this. Yes, Catherine, Bob?
Well,
No, go ahead. She said you could.
I was just going to say that we can sit here and argue back and forth and talk about it, but the man does not have a liquor license yet, and he can't do what he wants to do, and we can't do what he wants us to do without a liquor license. So I suggest we just move on to the next agenda.
Well, okay, I'm just saying, from sitting here, it seemed like he's getting different advice. We opened the door and somehow I got slammed in his face.
Well, he does know he needs a liquor license, even he knows that.
Yeah, but that is the question.
I think the larger thing is that we don't have a smooth way for anyone to come and open up a business in our town. And I hear from people who are struggling right now, who are being told stuff that I'm pretty sure is not accurate information by someone here in our town. So that's the issue. And like, this is just one more example of the issue, and we just have to fix it. You know, we just have to fix it. Like, this is something we need to work on.
Bob?
Well, I was just gonna say, I felt that the waterfront committee bounced this to the selectmen, and that when that gentleman left, I thought that he was gonna proceed, and felt that he had at least gotten a nod forward from the Board of Selectmen to move forward, which would mean getting his liquor license and then coming back to the board.
Yes.
And I think to bounce him now in a different direction it does make it extremely difficult for him to open up his business.
I think he should be able to come back here because
Once he has his liquor license,
Yeah.
he can come before the board again.
Back here.
And then we can make a decision.
and not the waterfront committee because they defer to us.
I would move that we instruct the manager to speak to the gentleman in one and tell him that the board would like him to at least proceed if he wishes to. No guarantees as to what will happen. Because there are
Because I don't want to give false promises either, that, you know, you're going to go and get your liquor license and it's a done deal. Because we do have to vote on it as a board. And I would, according to procedure, we would have to have the recommendation from the waterfront committee too.
Not this time.
Why?
Because they, like Bob said, they bounced it to us and we told him to go forward with it. And now you're saying, well, let's backtrack and make him go and start all over again. And I don't think that's fair.
I do think that they are a committee of our town and they should at least have some input on this business.
They did. And they passed it on to us.
They just weren't sure because it was alcohol.
That's the issue. They weren't sure because of the alcohol. They brought it to us. And so we turned around and said, go get your liquor license because that's the first thing you have to have. And then we will consider it. And I think that considering means also the waterfront committee and the board of selectmen. Yes, Kim?
I've never applied for a liquor license. I have no idea what they cost, and I know in some places they're terribly expensive. If that gentleman didn't know that he was going to be opening a business in Wiscasset, why would he go to the trouble and expense of getting a liquor license? I just feel like there's...
Because we told them to go.
Yes, well, I know, but as if I was a business owner and that was the business I wanted to go into, I would want to know that this town was going to be welcoming to me to be in that location before I went and got my, again, I don't know, if it's $25, I'd roll the dice. But if it's hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, I would want to have more confidence in the location that I decided to open my business.
Correct. I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
You nailed it.
Yes, Jim?
Yeah, along that lines, it's just like applying for a variance before you're buying a property to get approval from the town before you make this big financial investment. So yeah, I think that pending approval from the town, if there's a tentative yes, you've got the approval, then they apply for it. So that's got to be stipulated to them.
Is part of
getting the license that you have to have local approval first? To get a state license?
That I don't know.
It might be that you have to have a location.
That'd be right.
That, now all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's the sticking point.
But along these lines, I do have some concerns about the alcoholic beverage on the pier. One is most liquor licenses are contingent upon food service that is aligned. If all the food vendors on the pier are generally closed down by, Susan, what time would that be on
Mosquito time.
So running a bar, or excuse me, a alcoholic beverage dispersing business after those hours would seem to be contrary to state law and probably, I don't know what others, but it seems to be in contravention of the normal practices. They were talking about 11 o'clock. And then I think about potential concerns of people who live downtown with alcohol-related incidents after hours. I wonder what the police chief thinks about these aspects of, policing around the pier between those hours. Again, it's a public safety issue. So this is a complicated one, and I certainly understand why the waterfront committee brought it before first. There are a lot of questions unanswered yet.
I'll call him maybe tonight if it's not too late, and talk to him in the morning, see what steps he's gone through, what the liquor people have told him, one way or the other, whether, as you say, the location, lack of location, lack of approval is a sticking point. And then you make a good point about the late opening.
How many liquor licenses are available in our town?
Like
Like a lot of towns have a limit, like when I grew up, there were 6 and you waited for someone to die, so you could get that one. Should we have, is it unlimited here?
I've never heard, I think this does.
Okay, let's go on.
Jim's, a lot of the concerns that you just raised, if the process was to follow through, at some point the board would hold a advertised public hearing on the liquor license itself. And at that point, all of those questions hopefully would be answered.
So there's a state license as well as the local license, is that my understanding?
If the board approves it, then it goes to the state, for the state liquor license for them to approve it.
It's a chicken and egg thing, it's kind of awkward.
Is he talking about beer or wine or is it hard liquor?
Beer.
Just beer.
Beer.
Just beer. Why, you want it to expand?
No, I don't want it.
Okay, shall we go on? We should go on. We'll spend all night up talking about beer on the waterfront. Town manager's report.
Okay, I just wanted to bring the board's attention to the emergency equipment purchases for the wastewater treatment plant. I alluded to it in the past, and you'll see my scribbled notes what they actually are. I referred to them at the last meeting, but I thought you might like to see a little more detail. And Kathy appended the town of Wiscasset ordinances that allows for exceptional circumstances, which in this case is emergency, not the first.
Do we need a motion to overturn the one from 2 weeks ago?
No.
No?
No. Oh, you're playing games with me now. No, what I'm saying is, I had to authorize it, and we can't operate without it, which is why it's an emergency. And this is more on the informational side, but the board can vote if they wish to acknowledge that I went ahead and...
Well, if I knew it was going to be claimed an emergency, I wouldn't have made the motion last week, which passed, by the way.
What? Yeah.
The next thing is Selectman Colby and Martin Savage interviewed two people, the qualified environmental professionals. The firms were Wood Engineering Company and Ransom Engineering. And this was to do with the technical side of remedying the ash pond deficiencies at the old Mason Station. And both proposals and recommending that we go with Ransom. Ransom scored highly on the quality of the personnel, their experience, and also, as it happens, they were significantly cheaper or less expensive than the wood people. The only follow-up question I've got is, on the engineering side, Ransom, of course, had an advantage because it has done a lot of work here, very, very familiar with Mason Station. But it's kind of interesting how differently they figured the rest of the job, which would be subcontracted, how different those numbers were. And but again, first things first, asking your approval to award that contract to the Ransom Company.
Catherine?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal from Ransom for the cleanup of the brownfield cleanup at the Mason Station ash pond.
I will second it.
Question?
All those in favor?
Question?
Yes.
Total project 455, is that plus 64,000?
No.
Okay.
That's the total. That includes everything. And the engineering, which is at the back of the line there, I said, of which QEP is such a figure, 63 and 90 something.
All right. I thought the grant that we got was 400,000.
It was.
Where are we going to find the rest of this money?
Looking for more grants. That's one of the things these engineers promised. We'll find funding.
They will help us find money.
They will help us. And DEP, as you know, was one of the, they were in attendance along with EPA. They're very aware that this needs to proceed.
Well, I agree with all that, but we're the ones that will be on the hook for 55,000.
I believe that was.
They had several sources of being able to get the income or the money to take care of any
When, when the final prices come in, I mean, every item of it will have to be competitively bid for on bigger numbers. And I was very surprised to see the variation in the prices, and I followed up with both of them, and they all had an explanation, but it was a different explanation. So not sure who to believe until we actually get contractors, subcontractors willing to put their numbers out there. Don't know what we're going to end up with. And then the funding bit, we'll have to deal with it when we get it pinned down. But for now, we haven't taken any step beyond hiring the professionals. I'm not sure that answers your question.
Gina, did you?
As I recall, in the original grant application, some of the money that was going toward it was going to be in-kind funds when...
Yes, that'd be in-kind, that's correct.
Does that include the $55,000?
Don't know, but we are keeping track of our time.
When they talked about, during the interview process, they also talked about the in-kind and grants. And they gave a long list of people that there's money out there that they can get to help. They know what we have for money, and they know what is going to cost. And of the two, they were the ones that were more confident and information, be able to give us information on grants and stuff. So I have confidence in Ransom as far as that goes.
I just thought we needed to point out that we don't have 55,000.
They know that, they're fully aware.
Well, I know it's more important that we know it than they know it.
Charlotte, did you have something?
No, 55,000 is the total bid?
Just the
No,
total
no, no.
extra.
X, okay. So 450.
I've got my pages.
I have one. Well, we all do.
We got my number there. I put so much extra stuff in. Okay. All right, I got the numbers down on my notes. Here we go. Okay. Ransom was $64,650 and wood was $95,500. So, and as candidates, we prefer Ransom anyway. So that was an easy one. Going forward, Ransom says the whole project will be about $455,000, and Wood says the whole project will be $37,000. So it's $379,000. And again, that's a significant discrepancy, and I got answers that satisfied both of them, but neither satisfied me.
Catherine?
I'd just like to mention, I was on the interview board, which was very interesting. I was glad to have been a participant. Ransom, it was like night and day. Wood, the people that represented Wood, I got the impression that they were just here because it was another thing to maybe put a bid in on, but they had absolutely no enthusiasm whatsoever. And I thought, well, you know, why are you guys here? And on the other hand, Ransom, the people they brought, they were all enthusiastic. They just thought it was, you know, it was like night and day.
I'm not questioning the
No, I know you
recommendation,
aren't. I just
I'm
think
just
the board
worried
should
about the
know
money,
what it
that's
is.
all.
Well, I think when it came to, when you're talking about the money part of it, and there is a discrepancy of the $55,000, and I was like Catherine, I was in on the process. Ransom gave us solutions and suggestions of where we could go. Wood did not.
No.
They never come up with any, you know, we can do this, we can do that. And that took me right there. And when you sit there and watch interaction of people, Ransom treated us very well. Like, they weren't above us. We were all sitting here talking about the same thing. And I felt very confident in them, and that they are going to work with Wiscasset, and they will keep Wiscasset and the people of Wiscasset involved. They will be having public hearings to keep the townspeople involved of what's going on out there. And I think that was one of the important things that I thought was good.
I'm gonna vote for the motion, and
Okay.
I have no problem with the recommendation. It's just, I am concerned that we don't have.
It is a concern. It is a concern.
Yes.
But I think that they will, I think they will treat us good. I really do. And we do have the in-kind, which we are keeping track of. You're gonna remember that? Okay. Yes, Bob?
Just to cut to the chase, I would expect that they will be on top of the total figure, and if the numbers don't line up as the project comes to a close, then there would be an opportunity for the town to stop spending before they ran out of money until there was,
Oh, yeah, it's
you know, so I don't really see it as a major issue. I'm glad Ben brought it up because it is a valid point, but.
Well, the bills come to us. We have to approve the spending.
Well, I understand that, but I would expect that you wouldn't be approving bills that you don't have the money for.
That's correct.
And
That's
that
correct.
it should be up to them to make sure that you're aware of that before it happens.
Okay, so we can go on to the next item.
So there was a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, all those in favor of the motion?
After all of that, yeah.
Yes, I forgot.
Do you have a proposal in a second, Jackie?
5-0.
Yes.
Okay, good check. Okay, I don't have anything on the MDOT project update, in fact, the weather.
Shucks.
Sorry. I went to their last project meeting on Wednesday, but they canceled it. I didn't read the email till the next morning. They've been delayed yet another week because of weather. And you've probably all heard about the pothole or whatever you want to call it in front of the post office yesterday. They eventually remedied it, and from what I've seen, it was okay today. So I did ask them, was there anything else above and beyond that I could update the board with, and they just said, no, just the weather, which I can see for myself. Okay, so that's really all I have. There's a meeting tomorrow night, I'll be there.
Okay.
So the next item is, we alluded to it during the budget process, but you've seen in your package, the tipping fee cost has increased significantly if we use the single stream option at Casella. And we're paying $125 per ton there. And Ron has put together the various options, and the best option is to separate at source, namely no longer single stream, just divide those things out as you get to the transfer station. And so we'd end up with a tipping fee of $70 per ton. And that option 4, as he describes there, is 75% of the material would be recycled, 25% would be trash. And the reason there's so much of a difference, if you look at the column on the right-hand side and estimated annual cost, if we stuck with Casella, it'd be $40,000. If we went through option 4, which is what he's recommending, would be about $5,000.
I don't think we have what you're looking
Yeah, we
at.
don't.
We don't have that paper.
We don't have that.
Oh, no. Well, maybe it's
I'm looking all over this thing with you.
Like I said, where did you find it?
Anyway, so the big difference is if we continue the way we're going, is $40,000 a year. If we go with option 4, it would be $5,000. And the big change is kind of how is that possible? Basically, the recyclables will go across the street to the county, or the county will pick them up and will dispose of them, whether they get paid much for them or not, but they'll be gone. And then they eliminate the need for tipping all that material and paying the high tipping fees. And the whole thing has been kind of a shambles anyway. Fiber Right promised this, somebody else promised that. The years went by, and in the meantime, a lot of the stuff has just been dropped into landfill or a hole in the ground. So, speaking for myself, I've always done a separation of the recyclables. On that chart you've got there, it shows how to break it out. And in my particular case, the household of 3, we've got 2 or 3 bags of trash, and I got one bin for mixed paper, and I put my other recyclables into the other one. And when I get to the place, I just tip them in. Takes me just a few minutes. Drop them into, as he describes here, there's cardboard, the brown, the clear, and green glass, newspapers, metal cans, rigid plastics, and mixed paper. Natural plastic is the good stuff. That's the white stuff in the colors. Colored plastics, if they're number 2, they'll be taken off your hands. You're not going to make money on them, but at least you don't have to tip them into the landfill. So what we like to do is, start this sorting again, effective immediately. I think July 1st is what I put down. So, and again, I'm sorry,
I just had a question. I have the flyer here, and it says starting October 1st, 2011, any individual or business that does not recycle will pay a penalty of $2 per bag. Is that the right thing?
Yeah, that's way back. That's what this is based on, the ordinance for the way back.
Okay.
And it's July 119, there's the arrow there, so I would like it to start. It's pretty simple. Most people still do this. It doesn't require very much on the part of the citizens, and it does reduce expenses because you're already paying the county for taking care of this, which is one of the things that puzzles me about certain places that don't.
I just think we really need to get the word out because most people don't watch these meetings or read the paper.
So we've got all
and then they're going to go to the dump with all their single stream and be like, what? And
They're handing these out.
They're doing this already.
Oh, yeah.
They're handing them out.
It's on the website by now. And it's not very hard. The other thing is, Ron, I was talking about food scraps, which is something the county has been doing, and He's been separating food scrap 500, 700 pounds a week, and it just put in the bin and the county comes, picks them up, then composts it and so on and so forth. And that stuff, having initiated at the county, something like 35% of your household waste is food scraps. And which does not include, just so you know, it doesn't include pig carcasses or soups. I'm just exaggerating a little bit. It's got to be mostly the vegetables, the breads. Again, that'll be all.
But you can put meat in there.
It doesn't compost as well.
It does though.
Yeah, but you
You
need.
just gotta add your carbon.
Yeah, no, but.
I'm sure they know how to do it.
Well, we've been told not to, for the DEP people, because the composting process is much quicker without the meats and bones and such like. And fish is okay there, just so you know. Anyway, so.
John, just a question, there probably isn't a real answer, but as we push this stuff off to the county, they're not going to get what they traditionally have gotten in the past.
That's correct.
Does this mean that the Lincoln County recycling is going to start to cost a whole lot more, which we will then see in our county taxes?
It shouldn't cost an awful lot more because the back and forth, the pickup, which we used to have to do, we'd leave cans way out here, there, and everywhere all over the county, and have to go out, pick them up, bring them back. Now we just have to go around the corner, pick them up, so the transportation cost, labor, and all the rest of it significantly reduced. We have the balers at the county, and generally speaking, never had to pay to have somebody pick it up and take it away, and that's a big thing. That's again, a lot depends on what recycling prices are, and they're pretty awful. I'm sure that will change eventually, but right now they're abysmal. We used to make money out when I was over there. Now it's.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, the dynamics are going to change. That what used to be profitable, perhaps, is now going to have a significant expense.
In the spring of 16, spring prices were $85 a ton for cardboard, because that's all Wiscasset used recycling. And in the fall of 16, it was $110. Today, $25.
Right.
And the cardboard's one of the few things, apart from the clear plastic, the number 2. That's where the value generally was.
Yeah. Now, just one more thing.
Yes.
If you get a dog, you won't have any food scrap.
Well, I got a compost bin, and I don't have any food. Compost, it shrinks to nothing. We just put it in the same black container, or, in the spring, we take this off the bottom, that's the whole thing, and the rest, just run it through again. But, having said all that, is the board
Ready to go?
ready to go? I'm ready.
Okay, let's go.
Mr. Blackman, you.
Okay. So you don't need that motion or anything?
Yeah, just to say, authorize the 7/1/19 start date for the quote-unquote new recycling program.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the new recycling program to start 7/1/2019. All those in favor?
Oh, wait a minute.
Discussion?
I'm sorry, you want to discuss it some more?
Since it's put in front of us, that's part about charging the penalty of $2 per bag.
That's,
If I understand it, it's always been the town's policy, as long as someone made some effort to recycle,
Right.
they would not be penalized.
yes.
Yeah, at this point, we do what I call a soft opening, as in not beat up on people. I can do it. I mean, if the board wishes to amend the motion, you just say, well, we won't charge the penalty for 3 months.
The policy's been in this
Yeah.
ordinance for a long time, like that's not on our table.
I'm not sure they ever charge the penalty.
No, I don't believe
But
they
this
do.
isn't changing, is it?
No,
No.
it's not changing.
No, but because it's been put in front of us like this, it looks like all of a sudden it's going to be enforced, and I think.
But all you have to do is, you throw your trash away, and then you just whip out a note or something, and you're golden. Right? I mean, that's what it says.
Yeah.
You have to recycle, or you'll pay a penalty of $2 a bag. So when you throw your trash away,
But I think people are already doing it now. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
they're
are.
recycling now.
They're doing a lot of recycling already.
I think
No,
it's
I'm just saying that was the policy, as long as somebody did some recycling,
right,
right,
they
yes.
didn't get penalized.
unless you want to change your ordinance.
But that's not what we're doing.
But that's not what we're doing tonight.
I mean, I don't want people, the dump attendants opening up garbage. I mean,
They never have.
well, and I don't
I'm
want
sure
it
they, I'm
to.
sure
It
they
doesn't
don't.
say that they're going to on this paper. It says
No, but
ordinance.
this strongly implies that we're going to start penalizing people.
But that's not what they're getting.
This is what they're getting.
I didn't put that in front of us. I'm just responding to what is in front of
This
us.
is like on their
I
big
think- I think
whiteboard.
I
If you go there, it says on there, if you don't
No, it didn't,
recycle,
this
it's
front
$2 a
page.
bag. Like, this is old.
There's a back page.
This is, they're- I
I'm
know, but
talking
when you
about
go to the transfer
people
station, you're only getting this
who
one.
use.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem striking that sentence out of there if it makes this a little more attractive. I mean, all it is stating a fact, and it doesn't need to be stated. It's in the ordinance.
It's in the ordinance, but it basically has never been enforced.
No, I know, what I'm saying is if we was to strike that sentence out, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's a little friendlier.
Look, if it's an ordinance, it's best not to overcome it, but what I would suggest is you just say don't charge the fee for 6 months. And if it's time to change the ordinance or remove it entirely, then that's good.
Well, I'm just saying that I know it's in the ordinances, and everybody who reads them would be aware of that, but we don't need to state it here.
No, we just pull it off.
Yeah, this is just a handout.
This is just a handout. They'll only get the front.
Yeah, just take it off the flyer. Take it off the flyer.
I will vote for this motion, but, I mean, I hate it when we say, you tell how good it's going to be. This is really going to double everybody's time going to the dump. And you have to dump some things outside, and dump some things inside, and some things here and there.
This is how it used to be.
A lot of people have trouble up there as it is, and this is really going to slow it down. I only go about once every 2 months. I can live with it, but some people, this isn't going to be easy.
Well, you've got attendants up there too, and they're pretty helpful. I've seen them on the road with a lot of stuff from people's cars.
Well, like for run over, don't mind.
Well, and the reason, I wonder why.
Quite yet,
No,
then maybe we'll have
it's
it.
because the single stream costs $125 a ton. Like, we have to do this because it's too expensive.
I said I was going to vote for it.
All right,
I
so
just
can
said
we
it.
just-
Okay, let's have a vote then.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
We will
Thank
never
you.
be the greatest delivery of money.
If you don't mind, I'll skip the marijuana moratorium expiration. That's not news to you, but I will try and, over the summer, update it so we can vote on it in November. Tidy up things. One is, after the elections on 6/11, generally there's a meeting 2 days later just solely to appoint a chairman.
Yes,
Just
thank you.
advising you about that.
I was going to bring it up next.
Okay.
I mentioned it to him.
And the last one is asking that the board approve the fiscal year and closing at noon on the 27th this month. That's routine, shut at noon and get the books ready for the following year.
Okay.
I also, sorry to get into this, also the Sortwell, the lady's name is Sortwell, the farmers market people, they asked that parking be reserved for their spaces. This number's 3 to 6 on a Thursday, and they wanted spaces just reserved for them so they can roll in and set up shop. It's 7 spaces.
I have a question about that. I saw their ad, and it says that they're opening up on the Creamery Pier.
Oh, it's at Creamery Pier?
That's what it says on their Facebook ad.
That's nice.
And so I thought that we had talked about the rec pier
Rec pier.
parking lot.
Black Bear totally.
So Creamery Pier is like, that's the one,
That's
those
the-
parking spaces are on Route 1, that's not what we
Then,
approved.
we're talking about
down by
something
the
Maybe we
water.
want to call them tomorrow, because that's, like, we can't give them those parking spaces. I don't think that's what she talked about when she was here.
No, I've got a little map that shows.
But that's what her Facebook ad says.
Whoa.
It's actually called a memorial pier, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're done.
No, yeah, the memorial pier.
Yeah.
We're not gonna discuss that now.
Okay. So
You brought it up.
Okay. Big word?
Yeah, it says.
It's the recreation pier.
Yeah.
The one down by the harbor.
It says recreation.
It says recreation pier?
Maybe she changed it, so.
Yeah, maybe I saw it wrong.
Okay.
Technically, it is the memorial pier.
Okay.
Well, it was dedicated in 1976.
No.
I've always known it as a recreational pier.
Okay,
Well,
so
they told you wrong.
could I ask that the board determine whether they will let these spaces be reserved, pushed aside from, say,
It says Creamery Pier.
2 o'clock on?
I've
That's
got the
fine.
event. Like, where, is there a Facebook?
I'm at their
page?
Facebook page
Is
and
that
the
something
map,
they're
it
gonna
says
take care of?
Creamery Pier.
Ladies.
Well,
Sorry.
I think they would like to see cones put out there, if they have their druthers, I imagine probably noonish, to make sure that they have their 7 spaces. And, you know, they're gonna have, each gonna have a tent and then a vehicle with them. And they suggested the upriver, whatever that is, side on the wooden pier.
I think we could try it
Okay.
to see what, if there's a congestion down there, but if it becomes a problem,
Okay.
then that's an issue.
But what I was asking is, would it be their responsibility to set the cones?
Oh, that's a good point. Just
Probably
have them
not,
come in
they
at-
probably want us to do it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It seemed to me that they could be
That'd be a
responsible.
pain to put those cones there to.
She said she was gonna do
She did say she'd do it?
it. She did say she was gonna
All
call
right,
it.
that's fine. I'll respond to her.
Yeah, check and see whether she's gonna put them up or not.
What?
And it's just on this map on her Facebook page, you might want to tell her.
I've
It
seen
says
them,
Creamery
yeah, I have a
Pier.
copy of them now.
No, I mean on here, it says Creamery Pier. It's like a,
All right. I'll bring that up.
I just changed to rec pier. Are you doing that, Kim? Who is this?
Okay, so one last
It's
thing.
good, it's all fixed.
Yeah, one last thing
Watching.
that's come up in the last week. Respect for our town employees is lacking. I do not expect town employees to expect physical or verbal abuse. I do not expect them to be directed by anybody except their department heads, or myself, or the board. I take my instructions from the board. The department heads take their instructions from me. The different crews are doing a very good job, and in the last week there have been 3 or 4 incidents that I'm very aware of, one of which was verbal abuse to me. And there is no reason anybody has to take that. We do not dish it out to citizens or visitors. There is absolutely no reason that our employees be considered to be scapegoats, targets, whatever it may be. I take it very, very seriously. I take it personally, and I respect the people that work for me and for the town and for the board, and they're entitled to respect. They're entitled to a safe working environment, and I will be bringing the board's attention in detail if there's any recurrence of any of this, and the people who are doing it know exactly who they are. And as I said, I take it very seriously. There's a liability aspect, there's a personal respect aspect. It's totally unnecessary. And just so you know, I'm not pleased about it. Anyway, for what that's worth.
I don't blame you. Thank you.
You have to back in the
That's my
door.
last. Thank you, I know I do.
You have to back in the door.
Yes.
I just-
definitely.
I've got
There's no
time.
excuse for rudeness.
No time for that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
in terms of the organizational meeting next week, Wednesday or Thursday, is there a preference?
I was gonna say Thursday, can we do Thursday? It can be short. 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock?
I was told 5 minutes, does it?
It won't last more than 15 minutes at that.
Be sure that the town clerk opens this.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm saying 5 o'clock.
She
She's
wasn't
here
told last week, so she.
next Thursday.
5 o'clock.
The 13th, is that 13th?
12:30.
That's basically all I have on the agenda is an executive session. It's the last board business that I'm aware of, unless the board members.
Yes, Bob.
I'd just like to bring up, John, just for your attention.
Yes.
And we don't have to discuss it, but the bid policy was included with the pump station. If you go to the second page, under major projects, it says preference will be given to local vendors based on the list that is kept in the maintained at the town office under the direction of the town manager. This is probably nothing that you've had time to deal with, but
It's on my list, the whole big thing.
A couple town managers ago, that whole idea just got kind of thrown out.
Yep.
And,
Yep, when it all possible,
that could
when it all
be,
possible, yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion for the board to enter an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A.
Madam Chair, will there be a vote at the end of this executive?
It's possible.
It won't be long.
It won't be very long, but there may be a vote once we leave.
I have time for a beer, Madam Chair.
Pardon?
Do we have time for a beer?
Are you going to have
Pardon?
She wants to go to the Pier Beer. Is there time?
You can make a quick run to your car.
Containers.